Hi again everyone, we are going to continue on with operations today and we're going to have a little look at inventory management, and again this is for National 5 and higher business. We are going to cover everything that both levels need to know, so please pay attention whether you're National 5 or higher. Inventory management will go into all the different ways in which we can record and look at our stock levels. For some of our National 5s, you may actually know a bit of this already. We did cover it in class, but it won't hurt to go over it again. So let's get started. So let's go back to the start. What is operations all about? The role of operations as a business is to produce goods and services to a suitable standard as efficiently as possible. Benefits of effective operations management include the following: decrease costs, increase quality, decrease price for customers, increase satisfaction and loyalty, increase profits and performance, an increase in satisfaction and sales, and it will also hopefully prevent you bankruptcy and closure as a business as well. So what does an operations department do? What do we need our operations department to answer for us? So they need to decide what to produce, where to produce it, which method of production we should use, what stock do we need to purchase, how much do we buy and who from, how do we store stock, how do we control the flow of stock, and how do we ensure quality within our operations. So what is operations? So National 5, you need to know this. Higher, if you are at higher level, you should already know this. However, if you are crashing, this will be new to you as well. But this is right at the beginning of operations. So you have your 3 stages here, and you've got your input stage, your process, and then your output. Your input is all about buying raw materials and hiring your labour, so hiring your workforce. You will need to get raw materials, components, labour, and you'll also need your finance at this stage as well, because you need to buy in products. There's 3 very distinct phases. Your process is your second one. So this is using the resources to produce products for sale, including your machinery and your skilled workforce. So it's people putting together all your raw materials, building them, processing them. For example, with the one we've got here is baking a cake, so actually putting all the ingredients together. And at the end, your output stage, you're going to have your end product, which should be ready to sell and get sent to suppliers through your channel of distribution. Input, process, output. We all need to know this stage. So purchasing decisions, choosing a supplier. When deciding on which supplier to deal with, production managers must consider the following. Is the supplier's quality acceptable and consistent? Can the supplier deliver the correct quantities? Can the supplier deliver on time? Is the supplier dependable? Have they got a good reputation? Are they respectable and likely to stay in business? Because nothing worse than in the middle of getting in your raw materials, that supplier goes out of business and you've only got half your stock. Is it the lowest price for the highest quality that you can get? You don't want to be paying too much for raw materials that actually aren't worth it. Are there maybe any discounts available if you're going to be a regular customer or if you're going to be buying bulk orders? Can you maybe organise some credit terms with them? Could you ask for 3 months worth of stock and then you'll pay it back in 6 months' time, something like that? Is it good value for money? And the location of the supplier and the delivery charges. If you have got especially a food processing manufacturing business and you're needing raw materials that can go out of date quickly, perishable products, you don't want your supplier being at the other end of the country because it's going to take a lot of time to deliver to you. You need someone that's close by that can deliver your products on time and within a suitable time frame. So 4 key points that we need to think of when we are looking at what sort of inventory management and how we're going to keep all our stock recorded is: do we have enough storage space for it? How are we going to control the flow of the stock coming in and out of the warehouse? How can we minimise any waste so we are not just throwing away stuff that could end up being used? And how central are we to our customers? Are we in an easy enough position to start distributing, sending it out to suppliers, sending it out to warehouses, to sales forces, to shops? So inventory is just another word for stock. Organisations hold inventory for a number of reasons. Raw materials and component parts are stored ready to be used in the production process. Work in progress, so it could be partly finished goods that require longer between stages. And then you'll also have finished goods which are stored by the organisation, allowing them to meet sudden changes in demand. So advantages of holding stock is it could prevent you from stock outs, so running out of stock if you've got a small supply already sitting in the warehouse. It will provide them with immediate supplies so they can go straight into production or straight into selling. And especially if someone orders a large quantity from them, they could end up possibly doing a discount from a bulk order. Disadvantages of holding your stock though, it costs you a lot of money, so you need to have people working there, so your labour costs, actually storing it, the rent of the building, insurance for your stock, because you'll need to always have it insured in case of any sort of damages that could happen. There's big risks of holding stock, so warehouse could go on fire, it could get broken into and theft, damage, or it could just end up becoming obsolete, it could become out of date. If you leave electronic items sitting in a warehouse for long enough, they could end up starting to break, start to damage. And you're maybe also just wasting money keeping so much stock in a building. You could be using that space for something else. So you might end up overstocking. So too much stock can result in high storage costs, products left unsold that might get spoiled or stolen. Capital is tied up, so your opportunity cost of what else you could be using this money for. So you've got all this money tied up in your stock sitting in a warehouse where you could be getting rid of it, selling it, getting some profit in, using that to better your business. And firms must have in place a really effective stock control system, so some sort of electronic system that you can go in and see you have so many of one item, so many of another, and as soon as somebody buys or removes that product, the system updates so you know exact levels of stock in your warehouse. However, there are consequences and risks of understocking as well. So the business has nothing to sell, so it may stop production if you don't have enough stock in your warehouse to fill your shops up that are selling your products. If you're not bulk buying, then you're not going to receive the bulk buying discount. If you're buying in smaller quantities, you're going to have to pay full price for everything. Customers might end up going elsewhere. If you're always running really low in stock, you've never got specific things in shops, they're going to get a bit fed up and go somewhere else that have got fuller shelves. It's going to have an increased admin cost as you need to order more often. So every time you need to put an order in, you probably need to pay for delivery, you need to pay VAT, you're going to have to pay that more and more if you're only doing small deliveries each time. You're going to end up with a poor reputation with your customers. People aren't going to be happy if you're always saying, oh, we're out of stock of this, we're waiting on that. People are going to get fed up. And it will mean if you've got a loss of sales, you're going to end up with a loss of your profits as well. So this is where it's going to be familiar for our National 5s. They should have a note of this diagram already in their jotters. Once the diagram fully appears up on the screen, I would suggest that hires you take a note of this diagram in your jotters as well. You might need different colours if you want to make it stand out. But this is your economic stock level, stock management graph, and it will show you the different times at which we need to reorder, maximum stock levels. So you've got your stock level against your time. You've got your maximum economic stock level, so really the maximum amount you should be keeping in your warehouse at any time. Your minimum stock level to ensure you don't run out of any products. Your reorder level. And your lead time. So in the next couple of slides, I'm going to describe what each part of this means. So if you want to make sure you've got a note or a picture of this diagram, and then I'll go into the next slides and talk through what each point means. So your maximum stock level, quite clearly the highest level of stock that the business will hold in order to minimise their costs. It will be dependent on your usage and your delivery time, so how quickly you can get rid of it, how quickly we can move the stock. And similarly, your minimum stock level, this is the lowest level that stock should not fall below in order to ensure there are no shortages and production grinds to a halt. So making sure you've still got that base level of stock to keep customers satisfied. Your reorder level is when stock should be ordered in order to avoid it dropping below your minimum levels. So at that time, that's when you should start bringing your products and bringing your raw materials in to order. Your reorder quantity, that's the amount of stock that is ordered to bring it back to maximum level. And your lead time is the time that passes between ordering stock and receiving it. So you can also talk about your lead time from when a customer orders a product to when they receive it in their hands. So why use an economic stock level? To help anticipate stock running out so it can be reordered in plenty of time, keeps your reputation up there. It can help reduce storage costs associated with warehousing and security, as overstocking should not happen, because a big risk of overstocking means you're at risk and at the mercy of possibly a lot of theft happening. If you have got so much stock and you're not totally aware of how much you've actually got, it's very easy for people to come in and steal from you because you've not got a complete idea of how much stock you actually have. And it also reduces the chance of stock deteriorating or becoming obsolete. So if you know exactly how much stock you need and when to move it, then you're going to really stop the risk of having wastage in your warehouse. Businesses also use something called a lean production technique. It originated in Japan, and its main aim is to ensure that the amount of resources used in production is minimised so it's more efficient. Now, lean producers use less factory space, raw materials, stock, labour and time. The reduction in these factors results in a more productive and cost-effective organisation. There are a range of lean production practices, including avoiding overproduction, avoiding inefficient processes, lowering your stock levels, eliminating any sort of waiting times for customers, avoiding unnecessary movement, so instead of shipping a lot of products all over the place, try and just channel them into one distribution centre. Reducing the amount of transport your product has to go through, because inevitably things can get broken and damaged. Trying to avoid any errors, and using something called the just-in-time method, which we're about to look at soon, and also your Kaizen, so quality improvement, looking through quality at every single stage, as we've discussed previously. Now, just-in-time is purchasing in a Japanese alternative. So it was the Japanese that came up with this, and it's their alternative to traditional economic stock level purchasing, which involves zero or very few stocks and purchasing materials for each specific order just in time to fill it. So it's very, very tight time frames. Just in time is a stock control system where stocks are ordered to arrive just before they are needed, so they have to be very well organised when doing this. Advantages of using just in time is it'll avoid warehouse costs, therefore it reduces production costs. It should hopefully avoid deterioration / obsolescence of stock. It saves on space for stock holding, and space can be used more productively. And it will also improve your cash flow, so you're not tied up in lots of capital and stock. Disadvantages, however, relies on suppliers delivering on time. So if there's a delay, there's traffic jam, there's been a problem, then that's going to make your orders and deliveries run late as well. The risk of production stoppages if stock doesn't arrive on time, so you're going to have to stop production if you've not got the materials to make your products. And more deliveries with less stock will mean that it's obviously going to be less environmentally friendly, more lorries and trucks on the road causing pollution. There could be a lot of additional costs, spending more money on petrol, and you may lose out on your bulk buying discounts as well. So we've had a look at Kaizen before. It's all about continuous improvement, continuous quality improvement. Kaizen is a lean production technique that focuses on teams and promotes team spirit as well as celebrating individual contribution. It continually works towards eliminating waste and improving work techniques. Kaizen includes quality circles, a suggestion system, quality improvement, and having 0 defects as well. Now, most inventory systems are now computerized, so everything is done in like a central database, and the advantages definitely outweigh the disadvantages with your computerized stock control. So your advantages: databases keep balances of inventories and update them automatically. So as soon as you check out items, it should automatically update your system. It should be accurate, and constant monitoring of stock levels allows for automatic reordering. If you think back to the documentary that we watched about Inside the Factory of the McVitie's, they mentioned in their automatic stock system, the computer, as soon as it gets to say a certain number, they've only got this left, it'll automatically send an invoice to your supplier saying that we need to reorder this amount of stock in. So it's actually very little human input at all. It allows for decisions on slow moving stock to be made by managers from their computers. Can highlight regional variations in stock and seasonal shifts in stock, so you can have a look at kind of changes and patterns, see if at certain times of the year you're busier than others. Do we need to order more stock in order to have it ready for certain points in the year? And it'll also act as a deterrent to theft by staff, as they know stock levels are monitored closely. So if any kind of unsavoury members of staff think they can take some stock for themselves, then they'll know they can't, because the system will pick up on the fact that we are missing stock, and they'll be able to trace it and pinpoint back to where it went missing, and in the end probably be able to catch the person who did it as well. The disadvantages: the financial cost of the installation and maintenance of the system. So again, it's going to take a lot of time and money to set it up, but hopefully in the long run this will benefit the business, and the financial cost and time required to train staff on operating the system efficiently as well. Now, warehousing is concerned with the safe storage and management of unused stocks. So a warehouse is a place where finished products are held until they are ready to be distributed to the customer. The main types of warehousing used are centralised warehousing, so all stock is held in the same location until dispatched, or there is decentralised warehousing, which means stock is held in smaller quantities which are much closer to the customer. Storage conditions need to be: so a warehouse should be well lit, dry, well ventilated. A booking system should be used for logging stock in and out of the warehouse. Accurate records should be kept. The warehouse needs to be locked and supervised, so you will need to have employees working there. And you'll need appropriate space for your kind of bulkier items that you're trying to store. And all shelves should definitely be labelled appropriately and correctly, so no mistakes or stock is misplaced. So again, centralised, this involves storing inventory in one central location in a large purpose-built warehouse. Decentralised, this involves storing inventory in locations close to where they are needed for production or sales. For example, in individual departments, smaller factories, or in local warehouses or retail stores. So advantages and disadvantages of having a centralised storage. Your advantages will mean that you're going to speed up stock handling, and security is improved due to specialist warehouse staff being used, so they know exactly what's happening in that warehouse. Due to their capacities, economies of scale can be gained, so you're going to be buying in bulk, you're going to have huge orders, you can offer out discounts. Consistent procedures are used across the organisation when issuing inventory, so everyone can be consistent, know what's happening, same routines are used day in, day out. And it's often located close to infrastructure, which will help your distribution. So you're going to be located close to the shops that will be selling your products. So it's going to save you money on delivery costs. Disadvantages, however, it's going to increase wage costs due to the need for specialist staff to work in the warehouses. They're going to be maybe unresponsive to local needs. You might end up being situated a little bit further away from your local customers, so you might not be totally aware of what they really want. Inventory usage levels and needs are unclear, as divisions need to communicate with the warehouse. So if you have all your stock in a separate warehouse compared to where you keep your inventory levels, you're going to have really clear communication to make sure you're both working well together, and that can be difficult. You will need specialised equipment to be purchased and maintained within your warehouse, and it's also going to go into decline quite quickly due to any just-in-time needs as well. Your advantages and disadvantages of having a decentralised storage. So advantages are inventory is always close at hand when needed if you've got smaller warehouses dotted all around the place. They're going to be more responsive to local needs because they're going to be in the area in which local people who are buying the stock, they will know who they are. They'll be, often or not, the people working in the warehouse will be the local customers. Inventory usage reflects the local production level, so you know what's happening in that local area, and no negative consequences of overstocking due to the smaller inventory amount. So you shouldn't end up having too much stock because you'll just have what you need for that area. Your disadvantages, however, it can lead to a lot of wastage or theft. Lack of specialist staff can lead to clumsy and inefficient inventory control. Inconsistencies in how inventory is handled means problems are harder to pinpoint for senior manager if each warehouse is handling it slightly differently. And you could have consequences of possibly understocking if you've not got enough product in your warehouses. You could end up at the risk of running out of stock. So I'm going to send you off to look at some separate clips right now, and it's all about Amazon warehouses and how they store their stock. So down below in the description for this video there will be two links, one for the 12 facts about Amazon and another link for Amazon warehouse processing. They're very short videos, 2-3 minutes at the most. And I'd quite like you to take notes on the following questions and give me an idea about what your answers to these that would be. So why does Amazon use this warehouse? What kind of design/layout has Amazon applied to their warehouse? And what kind of mechanical handling does Amazon use to split/move their stock? So you're going to need to watch the two clips and answer these 3 questions. Now I will also put up an assignment for you to put in your notes on there. Whether you want to write down your notes and add a picture, that's fine, or I will attach a Word document and you can just type your notes straight onto the assignment there. So you'll want to pause this video, click on the links down below for 12 facts about Amazon and Amazon warehouse processing, watch these videos and give me a wee brief answer to these 3 questions, please. So let's move on and have a look at case study for Amazon part 2. Again, there is going to be 2 clips down below and I will link them for the part 2 on the description of this video. Again, they're very short clips, 1-2 minutes long. I'd like you to watch the video clips and take notes on the technology Amazon uses to help them with their distribution and delivery. So as it stands at the moment, which one of these is more fact and which one is more fiction? So you might have an argument for both that are fact, or might have an argument for both that are fiction, but it's really your opinion for this one. So again, it will be the same assignment on Teams that you can post up your notes and your answers for this part of the question and for the lesson today. Now, the process of inventory management and control is highly sophisticated and controlled and is more often referred to as logistics. This starts at the supply chain and moves through the consumer receiving to the finished product. At each stage in this process, costs and profits are essential, therefore waste has to be avoided. Logistic managers are responsible for inventory, storage and distribution. They need to have an understanding of the channels of distribution, understand the network of suppliers that provide materials for production, liaise with suppliers of raw materials, manufacturers, retailers and consumers. The benefits to a business overall of managing their stock systems are enormous. Customers should always receive their orders on time. Stocks of raw materials should never run out. Admin costs could be controlled as stock is ordered at regular intervals. There's a less possibility of over or understocking. There's less storage space required, therefore costs can be reduced. and there should be less wastage and theft of stock as well. Logistics want to ensure the right materials are delivered to the right location on time for as low a cost as possible. Now, why don't we pause for a second and have a think about the role of a logistics manager in relation to planning, organising, commanding, coordinating, controlling, delegating and motivating. Now, if you think way back to when we started looking at the first topic, our understanding business topic, that big one, we did go through what a manager does, what the role of a manager is, and it is this acronym of CCCDM. So planning, organising, commanding, coordinating, controlling, delegating and motivating. Why don't you pause the video now, take a few minutes, have a little think yourself, jot down a couple of notes and think about what a logistics manager would have to do for each one of these points. So, a logistic manager in their planning stage, organising, commanding, coordinating, controlling, delegating and motivating. So their planning will need to be planning inventory using production and sales budgets. They're going to need to organise resources including warehouse equipment and staff. They're going to have to command warehouse staff to carry out tasks. They're going to have to coordinate the supply chain, channels and methods of distribution so deliveries are made on time. Controlling the quantity, quality, cost and efficiency of the movement and storage of inventory. Delegating inventory procedures to decentralised warehouses. And they're going to have to motivate other members of their team. So a lot of the same things that any sort of manager will need to do, but this is just more related to what a logistics manager would have to do, one that controls all the operations for a business. Operations is also going to have to budget for planning and motivation as well. So they'll need to think of their sales budgeting. So they're going to have to provide targets for sales staff to aim for. So you're going to have to say we have 500 units. We aim to have them all sold by April, for example. And they'll also need to be used to motivate staff to reach targets as well. So if they reach their target, they might get a bonus in their wages. They will also have to do budgeting for their production. So they'll need to plan production so that there's enough goods to meet sales, allow enough raw materials to be purchased, and ensure that there are not too many raw materials so there is no overstocking either. So budgeting is not just for the finance department, it is regularly used in marketing and operations and can be used to help production and motivate staff. So there are many methods of distribution. So once you have decided on your product, who you're going to sell it to, you need to work out how are you going to get it to your consumers, how are you going to get it to them, what would be the best form of transport. So it can be road, rail, air, ship or pipelined. The method used depends on the market size, what's most cost effective, relative speed, cost, distance, the nature of the product, for example, is it perishable, customer expectation or preference, and the infrastructure that you've got available. So it can be that you end up using a couple, so you might use road and rail, you might use road and air. There's a few different ways in which businesses can do this. So you might also be asked about distribution mix. So like the market mix, we also have different factors that we need to consider when distributing our products. So you might need to think of the reliability of other organisations that you might need in order to get your products out there, the finance that you have available, consumer buying habits, how quickly are your products bought, any sort of legal restrictions that you might come into play with or might come into contact with, the stock management system, how quickly can you move stock out your warehouse, how much stock do you have in order to fulfill orders, your manufacturer's capability, the product itself, and the desired image for the product. Your external factors that might affect your methods of distribution, you've got legislation. So legislation is the amount of time drivers can work without a rest, will increase their delivery time unless arrangements are made, perhaps for substitute drivers. This all adds to your cost, however. Fuel costs, so fuel prices rising will impact on customers unless passed on to the consumer. What about when the Fourth Road Bridge was closed? How did that impact on kind of haulage firms that are trying to deliver products on time? Any sort of environmental factors could be considered. So trying to reduce your carbon footprint will mean environmentally friendly methods of distribution need to be considered, such as low emission trucks. So we've come to the end of your inventory management, all about managing where you're going to move your stock levels, etc. Your assignments and your tasks will be posted on Teams and Show My Homework. Please go there for further instructions on what questions or what tasks you have to complete and submit. On this will also be how long you've got to submit them, when you need to submit them for. Again, you will find this on Teams and Show My Homework. And you can replay this video as many times as you like, take notes on it. I will also put up onto Teams the PowerPoint version of this, so instead, if you don't like listening to the video, you don't want to hear my voice, then you can just read through the PowerPoint yourself. Thanks, and I will see you on the next lesson.